What's fascinating here is that Stoicism isn't just some dusty ancient theory meant for academics and libraries.
Right.
When you read Aurelius, you realize it is an incredibly inspiring, highly practical operating system for living. It hinges on the core belief that doing the right thing is actually the primary driver of individual happiness.
Yes, and to do the right thing consistently, you have to possess sound judgment and clear, rational thinking. So for you listening, the learner, whether you are prepping for a high-stakes board meeting or just trying to navigate a chaotic week, these 5 specific lessons offer a masterclass in mental resilience.
I really do.
Okay, let's unpack this. The first lesson is all about training your perception. Marcus Aurelius wrote, quote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been."
That quote fundamentally challenges how we operate.
It really does.
It points out how exhausting it is that we constantly assign a value judgment to every single thing we experience.
Yes.
We instinctively label everything. This is good, that is bad, this is beautiful, ugly, boring. It's a relentless, unconscious habit that severely drains our mental energy.
And the source material highlights the danger of the hyperbole we use when making these judgments.
Oh, the dramatic language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take a romantic breakup. Instantly, we use this intense, destructive metaphor, "They broke my heart." The video points out that framing it as a broken heart actively makes you feel significantly worse than just stating the fundamental objective fact of the situation.
Which is just that their feelings changed.
Right. Their feelings simply changed, and they no longer want to be in the relationship.
Because the actual event doesn't inherently contain devastation, it is the way you choose to narrate the event to yourself that shapes your reality.
Yep.
The Stoic practice for this is called undoing your judgments. It requires you to look past your initial emotional instinct. Think about going to a networking event or a party where you just don't connect with a single person.
We've all been there.
Right. And if you walk to your car and label it, wow, an awful, miserable night, then that is all it will ever be in your memory. You've actively created a negative, draining anchor in your week.
But undoing that judgment strips away the emotional baggage.
Yeah.
You didn't resonate with anyone there. That is a neutral fact.
Yes.
You also got to see a new venue. You practiced your social skills. You didn't go in expecting a miserable time, so there is zero logical reason to assign misery to the memory afterward.
Which leads directly into a core Stoic challenge known as turning the obstacle upside down.
I love this one.
The premise is to view every perceived negative not as a roadblock, but as raw material for a positive outcome.
Let's ground this in a really relatable workplace reality.
Okay.
You have a new coworker who is an incredibly slow learner. They make repeated errors, and it's starting to drag down the entire team's productivity. Your immediate instinctual judgment is frustration.
Natural.
You label them as an obstacle to your own efficiency. But turning the obstacle upside down requires a complete paradigm shift. This isn't just a frustrating colleague. This is a laboratory for your own character.
A training ground.
Exactly. It's a chance to practice patience as a muscle. You get to refine your ability to teach complex concepts and learn how to integrate struggling individuals into a high-pressure system.
You are essentially taking a situation that would normally cause your blood pressure to spike and using it to develop executive leadership skills.
Which brings to mind one of his most famous directives. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way.
So powerful.
It changes everything about how you perceive daily friction. And that mental reframing is doing a lot of heavy lifting for the second major lesson, which is learning to control your emotions.
Yeah. Right.
Aurelius advises us to, quote, "Stop letting your emotions override what your mind tells you. Stop being hypocritical, self-centered, irritable."
This raises an important question, though, regarding a massive modern misconception about what controlling your emotions actually entails.
People think it means being a robot.
Exactly. They assume it means suppression. Putting on a brave face, denying the emotion exists, forcing yourself to act like everything is fine. But the Stoics understood human nature better than that. If you push an emotion down, it doesn't vanish.
It stays there and festers.
Yes, and usually manifests later in highly destructive ways. The true key to emotional control is not suppression, it is redirection.
That distinction is crucial. Let's look at anger, a highly volatile emotion. If someone betrays your trust professionally, you are going to feel intense anger.
Of course.
Denying that is useless. But standing in the office and yelling at the person who undermined you, that doesn't undo the betrayal.
No, it just makes you look bad.
Right. It certainly doesn't improve your professional standing. It is a completely unhelpful use of that emotional energy.
So the rational mind asks, what can I do with this chemical spike of anger that is helpful? You redirect the intensity. You might use it to initiate a very calm, firm, boundary-setting conversation.
Or you physically redirect it.
Yes, channel that adrenaline into an intense workout, write out the frustrations in a private journal to process the logic, or honestly, simply let yourself get absorbed in a fast-paced video game to burn off the physiological stress until the anger dissipates.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. When we apply this to anxiety, using fear as a tool instead of treating it as a warning sign.
It sounds totally counterintuitive.
It does, but anxiety is universal. Imagine you were terrified of asking your boss for a major raise. Most people let that fear completely paralyze them, and they never advocate for themselves.
Or they attempt the suppression route.
Right. Ignoring the fear, marching into the office, and usually stumbling through the negotiation because the anxiety is still hijacking their nervous system.
But under the stoic method of redirection, that fear becomes the engine for your success. Your brain is generating anxiety by projecting every possible way the negotiation could fail.
So instead of panicking, you use those projections.
Exactly.
Use the fear to meticulously prepare. You write down every single counter-argument your brain is terrified your boss might use, and you build a logical defense for each one.
You are literally using fear as fuel.
Yes. The fear transforms into a positive motivation. You make the conscious decision to go through with the meeting because of the fear, to prove to yourself that you can face it. You acknowledge the anxiety the entire time, recognizing that acting in spite of terror is a massive personal victory.
It completely alters the emotional ecosystem. Your emotions are no longer clouding your rational judgment. They are actively fueling your preparation.
And preparation is something you can control.
Unlike your boss's ultimate reaction.
Exactly. And that division is the bedrock of the third insight from the source exercising the dichotomy of control and embracing amor fati. Marcus Aurelius states, quote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength."
That is perhaps the ultimate filter for modern stress.
We have to ruthlessly distinguish between what is in our control and what is out of our control. The list of things outside our control is staggering. The weather, the traffic, macroeconomic trends, and most importantly, the opinions of other people.
You cannot control a single one of those.
Not one. You can, however, control how you dress for the weather, what time you leave your house, how you manage your savings, and who you choose to associate with.
So whenever you feel the physical symptoms of stress, the immediate diagnostic question is, what can I control here? If it falls in your column, you take immediate action. If it doesn't, you must embrace it and not let it derail your peace.
Which brings in the concept of amor fati.
Right, which translates to love of fate. Not merely tolerating your circumstances, but actively embracing your life no matter what it brings.
The source material gives a highly practical example of this regarding a job rejection. Say you apply for a position you have wanted for years, and you get a rejection email. It feels like there's no silver lining there. Loving that fate seems impossible.
It requires objective analysis through that dichotomy of control. Why were you rejected? Was it a lack of a specific technical skill?
If so, that is entirely within your control.
Yes. You now have a clear roadmap. Go learn the skill and return stronger. It is a positive realization. But what if the rejection was due to internal nepotism? Or the hiring manager simply preferring someone with a different personality type?
Those factors are completely outside of your influence.
Precisely. Which means the opportunity never truly existed for you in the first place. The outcome was fixed by external variables long before you walked into the interview.
So why let it devastate you?
Exactly. You are essentially agonizing over a ghost.
Agonizing over a ghost. I love that phrasing. Think about this if you are a writer or in any creative field. You spend 2 years writing a book. If you measure your success by arbitrary market sales, totally out of your control, you are handing your baseline happiness over to a volatile market.
A recipe for misery.
But if you measure your success by your own effort, by the fact that you executed your vision, maintained your discipline, and are genuinely satisfied with the final product that is completely within your control.
You mathematically guarantee your own calm mind.
Exactly. And keeping your mind anchored like that requires a very specific internal compass, which brings us to the fourth lesson. Keep virtues in mind.
Aurelius tells us to, quote, dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging.
The word virtue can sound a bit archaic today, but in this context, it simply means morally good behavior or an excellence of character.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the Stoics operated on the logic of an interdependent universe. They observed that humans are fundamentally social animals. Therefore, they believed everything is connected, and what benefits the greater good ultimately benefits you.
So not acting virtuously is simply a result of ignorance.
Precisely. Acting virtuously isn't just about being a polite person. It is the most logical, rational strategy for long-term survival and happiness. To navigate this, they relied on a framework of 4 core virtues.
Let's run through them.
The first is wisdom. This is the baseline ability to logically judge what is good, what is bad, or what is entirely neutral.
The capacity to calculate outcomes without letting emotions skew the math.
And wisdom naturally feeds into the second virtue, which is justice. Doing what is right and fair for society, your community, and yourself.
Which is complicated, especially for an emperor who had to order men into war.
Right. But for a Stoic, justice isn't about ensuring everyone is always happy. It's about acting with fundamental fairness and duty, which requires the third virtue, courage.
Taking action in the face of fear, not the elimination of fear.
Exactly. Which leaves the final virtue, temperance, moderation, and self-restraint.
This one is so applicable today. Think about eating a whole bag of chips.
Oh, yeah.
It feels great in the short term, but it harms your long-term well-being and mood. Temperance is knowing when to stop after a few bites, or think about it in the context of digital addiction. Doom scrolling.
It's the same mechanic.
Exactly. 10 minutes is a pleasant distraction. 3 hours destroys your focus and sleep. Temperance is the wisdom to engage for 20 minutes, extract the value, and then put the device down.
And this framework simplifies existence immensely because it leads to how Stoics categorized the world. They divided everything into 3 buckets: goods, evils, and indifference.
Goods, evils, and indifferent.
Yes. You create evil when you act against the virtues. You create good when you act in accordance with them. Everything else falls into the category of indifference. Things like taking a walk, the stock market dipping, a viral social media post.
So a market dip isn't inherently evil, and a viral post isn't inherently good.
Right, they are outside your moral character. By treating them as indifferent variables you merely navigate, you cultivate a profoundly unshakable mind.
But applying that temperance and wisdom is almost impossible when you're stuck in the weeds of a crisis.
It's so hard.
You literally have to change your mental vantage point. Which introduces the 5th and final lesson from the source: always consider the big picture. Aurelius writes, quote, "How beautifully Plato put it. Whenever you want to talk about people, it's best to take a bird's eye view and see everything all at once."
It is remarkably easy to lose this perspective because you are permanently stationed right in the exact center of your own life.
When you are in the middle of a problem, it feels like the end of the world. Think about being at a massive music festival. You're in a dense crowd, pushed against people. From your localized perspective, the entire city feels packed and claustrophobic.
But if you just step aside,
Exactly. Walk 100 yards away, the rest of the park is completely empty. Your immediate experience was lying to you about the reality of the environment.
taking a step back is essential because it aggressively shrinks your ego and removes personal bias. Think about littering.
Okay.
In the heat of the moment, dropping a tiny wrapper feels insignificant. But zoom out to the bird's eye view of the whole world doing it, and your small desire shrinks compared to global well-being.
Let's apply this directly to a major life crossroad, like a career choice.
That's a great example.
You feel stuck, deciding between staying at your okay job or taking a promotion with more responsibility but better pay. You have tunnel vision, feeling trapped between 2 flawed realities.
But if you zoom out...
Yes, take the bird's eye view.
Yeah.
What about a passionate side hustle? What about pivoting into a totally new field? A new hobby to distract you? There are always options outside your immediate tunnel vision.
This is precisely why Marcus Aurelius was such a dedicated practitioner of journaling. Writing forces you to step outside your own head. He asked himself anchoring questions to maintain this macro perspective. What are the long-term effects? How do others see this? Who can help?
So what does this all mean? Let's recap the toolkit you now have at your disposal. You know how to untangle your perception by undoing those exhausting value judgments.
Right.
You understand how to redirect anxiety and anger into preparation. You have the dichotomy of control to let go of the ghosts you cannot influence. You have the 4 virtues acting as your internal compass. And finally, you know how to take a bird's eye view. You basically have a 2,000-year-old blueprint for dealing with modern information overload and daily stress.